Welcome to the Art Settlers of New York, an exclusive production of Manhattan Neighborhood Network, MNN, direct from MNN's El Barrio Firehouse Community Media Center, located at 175 East 104th Street, between Lexington and 3rd Avenues in the heart of East Harlem. My name is Rafaela Ronnie Billini, founder and co-executive producer of the Art Settlers of New York. And we will be having a conversation with Natalie Giugni, visual artist and president of the New York Society of Women Artists, also known as NYSWA, and presenting their art exhibit at Taller Boricua's gallery entitled Evolution and Revolution, curated by Nitza Tufino. Welcome, Natalie, to the Art Settlers of New York.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here.
And we're happy to have you today to speak about this very important exhibit. And I'm going to take the opportunity to read the artists who are participating in a very, very poignant title, Evolution, Revolution, especially what's going on today. It's like we've evolved and there was a revolution and we're back to where we started. And the artists are Elizabeth Hasgawa Agresta, Susana Aldanondo, Kellen Z. Adler, Ellen Alt, Audrey Anastasia, Barbara Arum, Fran Bialor, Caroline Bergonzi, Lindy Blanchard, Deborah Banzo, Alexandra Roach Brock, Pam J. Brown, Linda Booty, Pamela Casper, Rose Dallaire, Diana Friedman, Shay, Lynn Friedman, Natalie Giugni, Lauren Gohara, Betsy Goldberg, Carol Gromer, Sheila Hecht, Beanice Horowitz, Lori Horowitz, Sujin Joe, Geraldine Jurinek, Karen L. Kirshner, Sue Elm, Ku Legrand, Jacqueline Loriero, Kathy O'Keefe, Valerie Patriti, Francine Perlman, Leah Poller, Serena Gilan Porta, Yupin Prometapap, Anna Kushel Rabinowitz, Julia Roge, Peggy Silverstein, Ann Stanner, Natuki Takauji, and Rochelle Weisberger. Wow, what a group of extraordinary artists. The exhibit is beautiful, and it is being exhibited at Taller Boricua's galleries up until September 10th. And we recommend that all our viewing audience visit Taller Boricua's gallery, located at the Julia de Burgos Cultural Center at 1680 Lexington Avenue on the corner of East 106th Street in Manhattan. Tell me about how the development of this particular exhibit came to mind, to you particularly as a president, and organizing so many of your members and being able to select the artists for this show.
Well, as you notice, it's quite a group. It's 54 artists, and they're working in 2- and 3-dimensional artworks. And the show had been in the works, I would say, a good year before we forwarded the proposal to Nitza. I mean, we had been with the pandemic, everything, we were closed down, but we've been approaching, our organization is approaching its centennial, being that it was founded in 1925. So the whole idea
That's amazing, yes.
Yeah, and so the whole idea about, well, how have we evolved and what's going on? I mean, it's just, our organization is not a political organization, but it is a women's artists organization, so it's intrinsically political. So just watching what's been happening in the news cycle, then came the revolution part. It's, how many times do we still have to fight the same for the same equalities, for voting rights, autonomy, like how many, so the whole idea behind it, evolution, revolution, was to really, you know, honor our past, but to look to the future. And the works themselves really speak in 54 distinct, multicultural and multi-generational voices about what are the topics that our women artists are feel that they have to keep fighting again and again, that, you know, we don't just maintain ground, it takes vigilance,
Right.
you know.
And our viewing audience will be able to see the images, the videos of throughout our, you know, our program today, and it is just a beautiful exhibit. And we are here, and here are some of the images of the of what's on the walls at Taller Boricua Galleries.
Yes, kudos to Nitsa for her just beautiful curation
Yes.
of it. She has quite an eye, yeah.
As we can see, the different techniques, and also and we can even see influences of other artists, you know, particularly that one right there, which is looks very familiar, although it's a male artist. But that piece is by who? What artist is that?
That is Karen Kirshner's work. And what's really interesting too is that, you know, she felt, well, my work isn't political. I don't know if the theme of the show really, you know, whether I fit. And my response was that Karen, by nature, just working abstractly, women artists were not allowed or seen for their like abstract work. They were thought to do beautiful landscapes or portraiture. That was more, you know, female work. So
Flowers,
yeah,
fruits, something, you know, to keep us in the kitchen, barefoot and in the kitchen, right?
Yeah, so I mean, our whole society, the New York Society of Women Artists, they first banded together in 1925 because as a group of artists, it gave us, it provided the women with more opportunity to show and to be seen in spaces where they could be taken seriously, like their male counterparts. So,
Right.
you know, and
How did it actually start? Was there like a core group?
there was a core group of about 22 artists, and since it started
Living
in
throughout the state of New York, or predominantly downstate?
predominantly New York City.
Right.
These were New York City artists, and you know, they did have their, you know, some had ties to Long Island, some, you know, like they all, but they congregated here, you know, and so it's really not a statewide thing, but a very local New York City, and it has since grown. I mean, we've tripled in size. Our Constitution caps the membership at 60, and I believe we're at 59 right now.
Okay.
And but back in the day, there were 22 originating members, and they were featured in 1987 at the ACA Gallery. There's a catalog out that lists these founding members, and because
An ACA, for our viewing audience who doesn't know what it stands
ACA
for.
Gallery is it's in New York City, right here in Chelsea, and if I have
ACA Gallery, okay.
Yes, it's
And if they
ACA
wanted
Gallery.
to see the catalog, they would just go Google ACA Gallery and then,
catalog, or reach out to me on
okay. And your website is?
the website is the New York Society of Women Artists, all spelled out,
All spelled out.
allspelledout.com.
Okay. New York Society of Women Artists, also known as NIWAS.
Nizwa.
Nizwa.
Yeah.
Nizwa. Okay.
Yeah, that's really just
Nizwa.
we shortened it because it is quite a mouthful.
It is. Even to say the actual initials. This is a
Yeah.
very interesting portrait of a young man, young black man.
Yes. Lindy Blanchard, and yeah, her statement was very short. We had every artist write a statement about why they selected the particular work for the show, and some went on for paragraphs, and her statement was very poignant. Just, you know, a young man ready to take on the world, and, you know, just looking at him, you know, we all know.
He certainly is ready.
Yeah.
He's ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the belts, I mean, the kind of bit of a military uniform right there, you know, with the crisscross.
But there's no gun.
No, you're right. Yeah.
You don't need a gun.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
This is an interesting piece. The one, the black, the
Yeah.
dress, or
Yeah,
what is
that piece. Goodbye, My Chrysanthemum. And that piece is by Natsuki Takauji. And it's a very personal piece that she put in the show. That the black dress is, it's a school uniform, and she tells a very personal story about an encounter with a man, and I believe it was on a subway, and I think in some way he ripped her dress. And it was just like a personal affront in that moment where you lose that innocence of, you know, you just remember it's that instant where a child is just very aware of things that, you know, have to do
It's happened to
with.
many of us, yes.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah, it's that
riding a
moment.
crowded subway.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you look at the piece, it has like a chrysanthemum underneath, and it's kind of poking out as roots would, you know, through cuts in the dress. So that's very interesting. A piece.
There's a portrait next to it.
Yeah, that is a portrait of Deborah Barrios, and that is by Kellen Alder. And Deborah Barrios immigrated to America, and she fled from a very violent world. So Kellen painted a portrait of her because she wanted to honor just the strength and the fact that this woman found a new life for herself here in the States, and how she was able to remake, you know.
She came from what country?
I don't know off the top of my head. I want to say it was Central America.
But it could be any of the countries.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
It could be. Mm-hmm.
This is interesting. The woman on the right.
Yeah.
On the left.
Blue Huntress by Audrey Anastasi. And it forms a nice dialogue with a piece by Sheila Kremelman, which is actually a portrait of her granddaughter, who has some physical challenges, but who Sheila, as an activist, passed off a baton to her granddaughter, who was then taking part in the Occupy Wall Street movement. So in her back pocket, you see a leaflet, and it's kind of like her going, you know, through the door and, you know, confronting the world. So, yeah, these two pieces work really well. I loved what Nitsa did with them.
Well, that's it. It's very important when individuals, when they hang up or they hang artwork, you know, you do have to have a talent.
Oh, the dialogue,
for it.
yeah,
yes.
yeah, absolutely.
And what you said.
Yeah, and I feel, you know, I'm so close to the work. It was really nice to have Nitsa's eye to just, like, you know.
And there's a larger
the larger piece in the corner. Oh, yeah, of the. Yeah.
So you must. This was like a wedding, like when you're preparing for a wedding, where finally it happens and finally it opens. But this, to manage, you know, 54 artists, and get them to be satisfied, you know, where this is something that's part of your piece.
Exactly, that is a detail. The piece that I entered into this show is a piece called Saint Barbara, and Saint Barbara is the patron saint of those who work with explosives. And you called to my attention that there's a similarity with
In Yoruba or Santeria, where Barbara Chango.
Shango. Yeah.
Chango is the patron. Well, he's identified. Chango is as a man, but he's identified with thunder.
Yeah, thunder and lightning, and so to
Saint Barbara, yes.
Yeah, so my piece is Saint Barbara, but it originated with, once you see the piece, it's covered with these, I was able to get my hands on original firemen's ledgers from 1898 to 1903. A firehouse was being demolished in Newark, New Jersey, and as artists we were able to take some before, they got just mowed over, bulldozed. And you can see, at the turn of the century, the beautiful handwriting.
Oh, yes.
And every time they responded to a fire, that's when they would log everything in red ink. So, so that's just the backstory. My piece, I wanted to give them new life, and I incorporated it into the Saint Barbara. And
But talk to us about the history of Saint Barbara.
The history of Saint Barbara is that she was locked in a tower by her pagan father, who wanted to keep her, away from the outside world, and she educated herself while she was in the tower, which was, she studied Christianity. At that point, she was ordered to be tortured and beheaded by her father.
Because?
Because she had disobeyed him. She had educated herself, she had learned about Christianity and gone against, the patriarchy. And so St. Barbara was canonized because apparently after the father tortured and beheaded her, he was struck by lightning.
Isn't that's amazing? That's an amazing story. That's why I wanted you to share it.
Yeah. So, and then also, with the story of the Shango, you have the West African artists who, when they were in Cuba, they were not allowed to pray to their own deity.
They're orishas, they're called.
The orishas. So they substituted the Saint Barbara because they saw parallels, and it was their way of maintaining their faith and yet keeping it,
and being Catholic, because it's a synchronization of Catholic saints and orishas.
That's very interesting. You've given me fodder for doing more with like a Fire God series, definitely.
Yeah. So, how does an artist, say if I'm an artist, a woman, and I just graduated, I just got my MFA, and I wanted to become part of the society? You cap the membership. So what happens?
We cap the membership. However, at a certain point, if somebody has not participated in, several years, they have the option of being a non-exhibiting member. So that opens up spots, and every year.
So the society is an opportunity to exhibit with the group, or how does that work?
It's an opportunity to be part of a group, and we exhibit a minimum of 2 times per year together. It's also quite a network of support, because we have generational people. There's always somebody to learn from. We work together in smaller committees. In order to become part of this organization, it's simply submit an email through our website. The email address is 1925nyswa, NYSWA, @gmail.com, and just ask to be put on the list. Once a year, there's a 2D and a 3D jury committees, and they view people's original artworks. And we ask people, nothing is done online. We ask people to bring in their works, and you know, the sculptors get grumpy about it because a lot of them work large and, you know, in concrete and whatever. But it's very important that the backs of painting, the frames are judged, you know, as much as the content in the front, because once you're accepted into the group, we tend to self-curate our shows. We leave it to the artists themselves to select what to put in the shows. So we want to make sure that, you know, it's a professional organization. So you know, even though we may have emerging artists and, you know, women mid-level and at upper echelons of their career, they're all working artists in New York City. So we do look at the backgrounds as well. But judging is once a year. You know, you tend to have about 3 spots in each 2 and 3D. Once you're in, usually a member for life.
Is there like a membership fee that you pay initially or yearly?
It's a yearly. It's minimal. It's $85. So
Okay.
yeah, we are a group of volunteers, and you know, a real challenge for me as president has been to, you know, how do I instill structure into the organization where it can last into the future. You know, being that it's a group of volunteers, you know, some things have to.
So in other words, and you don't necessarily ask, like many other organizations that are not for profit, that they ask for grants, or you're a self-sustaining organization through your membership.
We have been self-sustaining through our membership. However, we are moving towards, you know, our 501c3, and will be requesting grants, and especially moving towards the centennial. I foresee, you know, into the next 100 years, we have to go with that.
Right.
You know,
or even a private, you know,
even private. Yeah, we've been
through the network
lucky.
of the members. You know.
Yes, we've been lucky and had some very generous gifts, you know, which have, you know, helped us and put together. You know, we're working towards a catalog for the centennial and so forth. So this particular exhibit, Evolution Revolution at Taller Boricua Galleries, that is really the you're kicking off your centennial celebration with this. We are.
With your group. In advance, you're planning.
Yes.
And women are supposed to be planners, you know, organized planners. So you've started thinking about about that centennial. And in fact, I mean, it is a beautiful exhibit, and it should travel outside of New York. You know,
I would love to see that happen.
There will perhaps opportunities for that, you know, to go and travel outside of New York City, definitely throughout New York State, obviously, but outside of the Empire State.
Yeah, we'd love to get it into DC, you know.
También.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right. So tell me about your particular, and we are going to have you personally come back to the Art Settlers of New York and speak about your experience as an artist, as a woman, with your, you know, family background, and how encouraging or not encouraging perhaps your family was. But we'll talk about that at another program. We'll just be exclusively Natalie. But tell me, in any event, what do you think about the new generation of artists, you know, right now? Do you think that they are actually looking, or do they look up to, or is there a tinge of arrogance on the part of a new generation of visual artists, where
I have not encountered that at all.
You have not encountered that?
No, and especially
that's refreshing. Good.
Yeah, especially in our teams, you know, we have a lot of very enthusiastic women that, you know, I look up to them. I mean, these women, you know,
in their 20s or just out of
school. In their 20s and
yeah.
30s with children and full careers going, and they're painting on the sidewalks of New York and taking it out to the streets, and it's refreshing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
art, it just continues.
Yeah, and I mean, it was really wonderful. Not so long ago, we finally were able to all like congregate for a brunch. The membership, we'd all been
Well, after
in
COVID.
lockdown. Yeah,
Right.
so we finally got the membership together. And there were so many new members who had come on board that people didn't know each other. But like in just looking around the room, there was such a nice mix of people. When I saw who was speaking with each other, they weren't in cliques. It was nice to see people reaching out and meeting the new members and being excited to work with them on like smaller committees and so forth. So.
Does the society have an office, or you work out of your home studio, or?
We have an office in Long Island City, but most of our, I guess, committee meetings, we've been relying heavily on Zoom,
Right.
especially because people's studios tend to be,
Messy.
messy and in warehouse spaces, and a
Right,
little off
right.
the beaten path.
Right. No, and if you're working on something to have then an invasion of individuals to attend a meeting, it's just not. It changes the mood, and
Yeah. I try to balance it though and get people together, and for even social things, because ideas always pop, and okay,
Right.
you guys can go work on that.
Well, if anything, we think now, in the past, and particularly in New York City, with respect to pre-9/11, post-9/11, now it's pre-COVID, past-COVID, But anyway, I do want to thank you, Natalie, for coming to the Art Settlers of New York, and we hope and we know that we will have you personally back on the program, and we wish you the best of luck with this
Thank you so
wonderful
much.
exhibit. Thank you so much for coming.
I appreciate it.
All
Thank you for
right.
highlighting this.
Thank you. Thank you.